these two, like, I don't know, I've become recently single. So, um,
So
yeah.
you kept that off YouTube. Congratulations, you kept that under the radar. The start and the end of that relationship were both kept off social media. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I have to say, like YouTube, like I've been kind of MIA, obviously, but even still, like I have people following me on Instagram and on Facebook that I've
Yeah.
met off YouTube. So like, yeah, I don't want to put anything on there just
Yeah.
because I don't know. I've always been a private person. I don't even like
Sure.
my personal friends. Why do they have to know my business? I don't know. So social media, you've done videos on this, right? Like how if you want to stay like private on in your life, that you should maybe YouTube isn't for you. So
Yeah.
I'm watching these videos and I'm like, oh great, this is Heisel's this is how he views how this is gonna go for me. I don't know. So I mean, I'm optimistic though that I'll be able to keep it separate,
Yeah.
but
But anyway, so you're saying you're now newly single, and that was leading to an anecdote. That was leading to something.
yeah. So yeah, just like I guess it got around and just on the same day these two vegan guys they're hitting me up and it was so
Yeah.
strange, like we have nothing in common.
Yeah.
All it is the veganism,
Right.
and that's what they bring up,
Right.
like we're talking, they break the ice by bringing up veganism and
Right.
I'm just like, buddy, like this isn't
Right.
going anywhere, right? Like you're just vegan, that's all we have in common, but
Right.
still.
But you got to decide. Do you decide that on a case by case basis? I mean, I think that's exactly the question: is we're vegan. Do we have any other common ground for relationship? For sure. Um, I have had the experience really only once face to face because I don't meet that many vegans face to face. Most vegans I know are through Skype, like this conversation right now. But I've had the experience where I met a woman who is vegan, and when I first met her, she wasn't just plain to me or not interested in me. She was actually ugly to me. Remember, I met this woman, and she was to me in that sense, like, I actually felt a little bit repulsed by her. And, she was an ethical vegan. And just after talking to her, but she was talking about really meaningful stuff, like activism and so on and veganism. And I was really looking at her thinking, I could make this work. It over like so there's a sense in which the ethical vegan thing, because it wouldn't be like that if it was just someone who was like an athlete who was just vegan for like health reasons or to be a bodybuilder or something or a model, but when you're talking to people who are ethical vegans, I have actually had that experience where I start to feel attracted to them despite their being ugly, not just plain, not just not interesting, but ugly. So you tell me, is that just like an ethical belief? Or are we crossing the line from ethical belief into sexual fetish at this point?
That's funny you should say that. I actually was just talking to some vegans the other day, and we all agreed that, like, the 10-point scale, like, oh, she's a 7, or like,
Oh, okay, yeah.
8.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like being vegan, it just automatically adds like 2 full points on
Yeah,
that scale.
yeah, yeah.
I think, and it's so true. Like what you just said is so true. Like I don't think I've ever met anyone that I found to be grotesque, but
Good for you. Okay, I'll tell you once. I once said this to my wife, who is now my ex-wife, in case you haven't heard. But I remember I was talking to her once, and I said, different people find the 10-point scale offensive. Like they think it's like politically incorrect to have a 10-point scale. But I said to her, you know what the truth is? For me, it's not that I think it's offensive, but for me, everyone is either a 10 or a 0, and here's why. When you meet someone and you like them, whether it's online or in real life, either you are willing to embarrass yourself to let them know that you're interested, or you're not. And that's it. Like that's really the only difference. If I'm willing to embarrass myself to tell you, hey, I want to get to know you, then you're a 10. And if you're not, even if it's close, even if it's like, well, I'm kind of interested in her, but somebody told me she has a boyfriend already, or, if it's anything else, there's no point having 5 through 9. There is no point. Either you're willing to embarrass yourself, or you're not. So yeah, and I mean, it plays out very differently, like by email as opposed to in person, face to face. But definitely, like now in this last year, I've had a lot of practice with that dance. I've had women writing to me like, oh, so just last week I had a woman writing to me, and in the first email, she didn't just tell me that she was basically in love with me from YouTube, but she specified like I'm completely prepared to like take on responsibility helping you raise your daughter? Like, first, I did not reply. I did not reply. I mean, no shade. It was like, wow, anyway, it's moving a little fast. Commitment to help me raise my kid. Okay, great. Anyway.
She saw 10 and she acted on it.
Right. So that's the point. I mean, can I hate her for that? So for her, she was like, yeah, and it is. It's embarrassing. It's making you vulnerable to come out and say, hey, I like you, and maybe you're going to reject me. And there are a lot of other maybes there, right? But you want to make it happen. You want to try. You want to take that risk. But yeah, so there are other times also where women send me emails that are not flirtatious in any way, that are not admitting why they're writing to me in any way, but you still somehow magically pick up on the vibe. Like it seeps through the prose that's why they're writing to you, and that's what's really on their mind, even if it's a totally kind of professional email about other things. And I've been able to verify that, because then several stages later in the conversation, I'm able to ask, hey, from your very first email, this is what I was picking up, and they're like, yeah, it's true. So yeah. But yeah, I think that willingness to be embarrassed, I think that's what we all need to focus on.
Well, you're so right about the vibe thing. Like, it's very subtle. Like, yeah. In my experience, I'm impressed to hear you say that, because in my experience, guys, they can't pick up on it. They're just not picking up when I'm laying down. I find that I have to be very...
Wow. Okay.
They don't get it. Like, I have to straight up be like, are you feeling this? Like, do you want to go out with me?
I wonder...
about it.
Yeah, so what? Oh, how young are the guys? Are they like 19, or are they?
No, they're like.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're all older than me, so.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a gift and a curse, because if you can pick up on the vibe, then you also know when it's not there. So like I lived in Asia for years and years, and a lot of the times in Asia, like it's still true now where I am in Da Hong. So like I would be living in Vientiane, the capital city of Laos. And there would be a white woman. So a white woman who either has a corporate job, like a lawyer, or might be a white woman who's a school teacher, but there are very few white women. That's, Southeast Asia. And a lot of those white women, they would meet me, and they would not be attracted. They would not have a natural vibe with me. But I could see they would do the thinking in their head, and they'd be like, this is the only good-looking, healthy, single male under 50 who doesn't sleep with prostitutes, who isn't an alcoholic. Because, like, again, like, when it gets into it, these are like, you may not think that's what you're looking for in a man, but it is. You may not be on your list. You may not have a list written out, does not sleep with prostitutes, but I guarantee you haven't thought it through. That's what you're looking for. And they came back to me and tried to initiate a relationship. But every single time I turned that down, because there wasn't the vibe. I could see that it was not natural for them. I could see they talked themselves into it. Or they did the math and figured out I was the only option they had in town, or the best option they had. So yeah, I think that's a blessing and a curse, because you're really aware when it's not there also, and probably your life is more fun if you initiate more relationships. I don't know.
I feel like in your situation though, I mean, obviously, I think age is playing a part into it. Like. Sure. I guess especially like with these women, what you're describing, I don't know how many guys your age are single to begin with, right, in like a normal context, let alone like in a foreign country. Right. Just because like I find at my age, especially, I can't even remember the last time I dated someone even my age. Like I always date older, just because at my age, the culture, like no one's interested in doing anything remotely serious. It's always like, maybe it'll go somewhere, maybe it won't. Right. But I'm certainly not the type of person who could ever get into something knowing that it's not going to last. I don't know. Right. It just seems like a lot of unnecessary heartbreak. But it seems to me like the older you get, like the more like eager people are to settle down, I suppose.
Or people pretend, or people live a lie. The guy I knew who slept with the most women, I think of any man I've ever met, he slept with the largest number of women. His praxis was simply to lie to women, to simply tell them what they wanted to hear. and he would tell them the next morning or that night after he'd had sex with them that that it was all a lie, that he had just told them what he wanted to hear. And it was, I'm just saying, like anthropologically, it was really interesting to meet him and hear his perspective on life, because that's totally alien to me. I don't lie to anybody about anything, you know. And as a result, I have way fewer partners, and I'm cool with that. But also, like, for me, that's always been true. I had someone just joking on live stream saying, like, oh, like, I bet Isel has, like, a lot of, like, casual flings with these other vegans after him and so on. It's like, no. For me, always, and women pick up on it, and a lot of women pursue me for that reason. Like, every relationship is as serious as cancer. Like, every relationship might as well be a marriage anyway from the first date. You know what I mean? And a lot of the women who are after me, that's what they want. They want a guy who is super high commitment, super duty and honor obsessed. Like, that's what they're looking for, and that's maybe why they pursue me consciously or unconsciously, whether or not they know it. But at the same time, that then means I have to do all the scrutinizing before the first date, because then at the first date you're already in a high commitment relationship, which is probably psychologically unhealthy. Yeah. But I mean, you know, those other factors, it's funny because, like, once vegan becomes your ethnic group. Well, look, I never cared about a woman being Jewish or not, but I mean, I don't know. You know, do you care if your husband is Ukrainian? What's that worth compared to someone who's already vegan, right? You know?
Can you imagine the odds of me finding someone who's not just vegan, but also Ukrainian and also educated and also, you know, like all these other things I look for. It's just like, oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm just going to buy the 40 cat or adopt the 40 cats now and call it a day. You know, like I would just never find